All righty, here we go. Hey guys, how you doing? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report with your NBA forecast today, along with Ross Benjamin of Ross Benjamin Sports. RB, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Ron. Off a bad day yesterday, but you know what? Back to the drawing board. Started a winning streak again today. 7 out of the last 8 days, I've had a winning day, so I can't complain about that.
Yeah, no, you know what? And the thing too, pretty good day yesterday all around in baseball. 2-1, 1-1 on hockey. Lost with the Oilers of Chicago, and then I went 1-1 in NBA yesterday. Had the San Antonio, which fought for till the last 2 minutes, got in some foul trouble, but the one with OKC and good old OKC, all they do is cover the spread when they're an underdog. And the Lakers, like I said, between the Lakers and Clippers, I know the Clippers are missing some players, but buyer beware. There's some fool's gold out there between these two teams.
Yeah, I still think, like I touched upon yesterday, not to be redundant, neither team playing with any urgency right now, knowing they're going to be the 1 and 2 seeds in the West and just trying to get to the playoffs healthy. I think that has a lot to do with it, Ron. And how about OKC, like you mentioned, 23-8 against the spread this year as an underdog. That's just incredible.
Yeah, you always get those one teams that just all they do is just cover the spread, and and OKC seems to be that team this year. But another thing too, Ross, I've noticed we're getting at the point now. These guys have been in the bubble for over 10 days, close to 10, well, maybe longer. And we're going on game number 4 for most of these teams. Now is wear and tear. You're going to start to see a bit of wear and tear in the athletes. Back-to-back games for some of these teams like San Antonio. Toronto played yesterday. Lakers played yesterday. So these are these situational handicapping tips that we're going to be looking for when we break down today's game. But before we do that, Ross, just like we do in the stock market, let's see what the bookmaker needs today. Let's see what the current sports betting market has for us in stock. And folks, if you are new to the Rain Report, you can get it each and every day right here at atsstats.com, where you can get my selections or a membership of ATS Stats along with Ross Benjamin's picks. Go to dashboard, go to SBI. It's going to take you to the next page where we monitor the current market conditions of the NBA, Major League Baseball, everything going on. And look at this. Yesterday, 4-2 for the favorites against the spread.
Ron, could you put it up for me, please?
Yeah, did it again, eh?
Hey, that's okay. That's why you got me.
Yeah, but this is Thursday. I should be on my A game right here. All right, here we go. All right, so as you can see, take 2. You got the 4-2 yesterday for the favorites against the spread, but the day before was the dogs were barking 0-6, and looking at the straight up favorites, 5-1, and prior to that was 1-5. So bit of a checker right here. And looking at the 3-day average, Ross, 61% of the favorites of winning straight up. The over under, this is what I love. If you're looking for balance and you're on the same playing level field from a psychological point of view with the bookmaker, 50% overall, 3-3 again yesterday. Look at this. The last 2 days in the NBA, 3-3 for the totals, and 44% of the overs have come in. So Ross, I don't know, man. This is, to me, I know that one day it doesn't make it makes an early indicator, but I still say fire away here in the over unders.
Yeah, there's a lot of value to be had there, and there's some interest. We were just talking off air how the pendulums have swung with how the lines makers are using totals, meaning what number they're using. I mean, for example, we're going to talk about the Lakers in Houston later, but very low number compared to their first 2 meetings.
Yep. All right, so let's take a look at those games today, Ross. Again, if people are a member at ATS, all you got to do is go to NBA, go to NBA forecast, and it's going to take you to our computer pick page. And this is the NBA forecast. If you want the rain report, just go NBA. We have a free rain report, which you can see each and every day. And here's the full detailed one. But for today's show, we always give you the computer forecast. Now, New Orleans going to kick it off here at 1:30 against the Sacramento Kings. Now, the bookmakers have made Zion and company a 4.5-point neutral court favorite. Over under set at 233.5. ATS forecast and computer pick sees a Maybe, it's hard to say a low-scoring game at 230.73, but we got 120.87, 109.86 for New Orleans. The over/under at 230.73. Now Sacramento coming off a 4-point loss to Dallas in their last game, and New Orleans coming off a 10-point win over the Grizzlies. And looking at the chance of covering, 58% for New Orleans compared to 57, and that's what I'm looking for. The percentage play here today, Ross. You got a New Orleans team who really aren't having a really great tournament, against Sacramento, also not having a good tournament. And, are you tended, like, from the public percentage mindset, do you think the public's leaning towards New Orleans today?
Yeah, I do. You still have that Zion effect, even though he's not playing much. And the more familiar, they've been on TV a lot more this year, right, Ron? And we don't undervalue that as well as in terms of how public perception is. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I got some contrasting info here, Ron. New Orleans and Sacramento have met 5 times since the beginning of last season. All 5 of those games have gone over the total.
Oh,
and
wow.
the average total in those 5 games, 233.4. And like Ron just put up, it's 233.5 today. And the average combined score in those 5 games, about 250 points scored per game. Now, the contrarian look is New Orleans has gone under the total in each of their last 5 games, which dates back before the break. The average total in New Orleans' last 5 games, Ron, 233.5, exactly what it is today. And there's only been 217.6 points scored per game in those 5 games.
Wow. So bookmaker right on the number there with that.
Yeah. But you can see when you get that, I don't know how you handicap exactly. I got a good idea, but we both have our different idiosyncrasies. But when I start to get conflicting information, like I just alluded to, it's a stay away from me.
Yeah, there's nothing that really, and to make matters worse, it's a 130 game, which forces you to really, psychologically, like, handicap.
Rush decision, yeah.
Yeah, rush decision, right?
Especially during a week. Again, every day's a weekday to us, though.
Yeah, that's true. And looking at New Orleans here, Ross, anytime they play a team that's a beatable and like a C-type team, 11-5 straight up, and compared to 8-8 for Sacramento. So when they face an opponent that's like them, like a mirror, like 29. Look at the record: 29-38, 28-39. You're talking 1 game difference. So,
and that's the other thing to take a look at, Ron. You got to keep an eye on the standings because Memphis, I believe, is hanging on to that number 8 seed in the West. But if you're within 3 games of the number 8 seed and you finish 9th, it's a 1-game playoff between the 8 and 9 seed. And I believe New Orleans and Sacramento and one other team, I think Phoenix, is right within that area of being 3 games behind Memphis for the 8th spot. And Memphis is trying hard to give these teams a chance because they're not doing very well. No.
And, looking at the money lines on this game, so sometimes when I see a line like this, I tend to look at, I don't want that point spread to come into play. I'll look at the money line, but the money line's too high at 195. So it's probably a pass for me here today between the Pelicans and the Kings. Looking at the next game, we got Miami Heat taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. This, depending on the roster here for the Bucks, they pulled a fast one on the bookmakers in their last, caught it with their pants down. -9.5 is the side number here. Over/under set at 222. ATS forecast and computer pick. Going to lean with Milwaukee here. 112.95, 98.67. Over/under at 211.62. Now looking at this game, 56% chance of covering for Milwaukee, 41 for Miami, who are coming off a 112-106 win over an inconsistent Boston Celtics team, who did finally got a W last night. But looking at the Bucks here, 119-116 loss. Their AAA team in the second half there.
Yeah, it's a 19-point favorite, by the way.
Yeah, exactly right. So looking at this line from the Rain Report Value Index, Ross, I had Milwaukee here at -10.9. So 9.5, we're right there in the market value. But I had Milwaukee here at 3.41 against a faceless opponent. And when just strictly numbers, when I do the Rain Report, I just try to find value on what the, it's like going to a store and buying something, what's that value of that thing today? And today for August 6th, the value on the Heat for me is minus 341. So you are getting value. I just don't know if Jimmy Butler, if he's in or out. I don't.
Yeah, it makes you question it because look, Miami's 2-0 straight up in ATS against Milwaukee this year, which has surprised me since Milwaukee's only lost 14 games all season long, and the line is 9.5. So
that tells me he's out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going with that. And Milwaukee, I mentioned this on the last show, Ron. Going back before the break, this team was 52-9 at one point, but they've lost 5 of their last 6.
Wow. Yeah. So this is, from a tournament point of view, this is what I call the tournament here because you're not at home and you're in dorms and you're playing every other day. From a psychological point of view, it's tough to gauge. Like, look at Boston; they're a perfect example. They can't handle this format that well. They're just so inconsistent. I'm wondering if Milwaukee's in that same type of mindset in this tournament.
Yeah, and I think Milwaukee, you might be looking at a microcosm of what we're seeing with the Lakers and the Clippers, having the number 1 seed, most of the season. The degree of urgency and desperation isn't there, but they better start getting desperate because Toronto's, they're crawling up their behind right now.
Yeah, my only worry with the Raptors is that they haven't hit a flat spot yet, and then you don't want to start hitting that in the elimination round. Looking at Miami, when they face an alpha type team, but again, check the roster to see for Milwaukee. The over 10-5-0 to the over today. The Kogo is right close to it at 48%. Does favor the under though. 211 is the total. I don't know, man.
You know what, Ron? One thing to keep in mind that I take a look at when I'm looking at NBA totals, how many field goal attempts a team has recently. Miami is only averaging 77 field goal attempts per glass. That's really, really low. The NBA average is pretty much in the mid to high 80s per game.
Oh, wow.
So they're playing at a pretty slow pace for whatever reason recently. So something to keep in mind, and something the listeners and viewers should also look at when you're handicapping NBA totals, Ron. Take a look at the pace each team plays at. How many offensive possessions they're getting per game, how many field goal attempts they're getting per game. That, to me, is one of the indicators as far as totals go.
You know what? That's a great point. I was watching the game the other day, and I think I had the total, and it was the last 3 minutes, and the pace was like going back and forth, and I'm saying, what's your hurry, man? Slow down. Don't get those quick buckets. Yeah, exactly. So that's a great point. The pace of some teams, they just run and gun, like Memphis. They just want to run and gun everything.
Yeah.
Looking at the Pacers taking on the Phoenix Suns. Now, Pacers, surprisingly enough, doing very well in this format here. Minus 2.5 is the number today against Phoenix. Over-under set at 229.5. ATS forecast, computer pick, leaning with the Pacers here, 112.78, 106.43. Over-under at 219.21. Now, looking at the chance of covering today for Indiana, 21% compared to 25% for Phoenix. 41% chance of this game going over the total, so it does like it to go under. And you know what? This Phoenix team, they're hard to gauge right now. You think they prior to the COVID break, they weren't as competitive as they are right now, but they're just a hard team to really get a read on.
Well, they're not a hard team if you look at 3-0 straight up in ATS since the restart, and 5-1 straight up in ATS if you go back 3 games before the break. So they're definitely a team, Ron, that came to this tournament, as you call it, very interested in trying to at least get a 1-game playoff and put themselves in a position to be part of the NBA playoffs when they start. In Indiana, like you just touched upon, Ron, 3-0 straight up in ATS since the restart. They look very good. And this is a Pacers team right now, 11-3 straight up in their last 14. And also they've gone 10-2-2 against the spread in those 14 games. And that includes 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 as a favorite. So they've been a money hog lately.
Yeah, and you know what, Devin Booker, there's something in his water last game because this guy was very aggressive with his play, but you can tell, he really wanted that win against the Clippers, and they got it, 117 to 115, and for Indiana, 120 to 109 win over the Orlando Magic. And that's a game I had the Pacers, and I think they were an underdog in that game. Can't remember, or it was a low -2.5 or something like that. I can tell you right here. Yeah, -1. They were -1. I knew it was a low number, and I was all over Indiana against Orlando. And sure enough, we're lucky to get that win. Clippers taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the next 3 games, Ross, these are 3 games that, get the popcorn ready type thing, right? You got the Clippers -4.5 against the Dallas Mavericks. Totals at 229. Forecast likes LA here, 116.1, 111.39. The over-under at 227.49. Looking at the chances of covering here, 57% for the Clippers, and it's 74 for Dallas. And looking at the Kogo, 49%. Now, I had Dallas here at -5.73 as a number. We're getting good value here at 4.5. And I had Clippers at -6.46. So, also good value on the Clippers. Now, looking at this Clippers lineup, they're starting to look like a team who needs a little bit of help off the bench. You can tell they're missing Montreal Harrell, I think is he's missing him. Paul George, he's looked good at times, looking tired. Kawhi's looking a bit tired. They're asked to really do all the legwork. Marcus Morris has been always the same Marcus Morris, very aggressive. Clowning around on the bench there with Kawhi the other day. I saw it on a YouTube thing. It was pretty funny. But looking at this game here today, Ross, Clippers, this is a big game, going up against Dallas. Dallas hasn't looked that dominant, even though they won in the last game, 114 to 110. 116 to 111. I do like the Clippers here.
Yeah, this is a tough call for me. Both teams haven't played very well since returning from the break. A note on Dallas, though, as it applies to the total. Their last 2 games have gone under the total, and this is a Dallas team that's gone 7-0 over the total this year, following back-to-back unders in their previous 2 games. And those 7 games had a combined score of 247.9. On the other hand, the conflicting information is the LA Clippers 19-9 under the total this year after going over in their previous game, which they did. So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, and you know what? I always like to look at the strength of schedule, and anytime Dallas meets an alpha type team, they struggle 3-10 straight up when they're pegged a home team. But obviously everybody's on the road here. But it just tells me anytime they're facing an alpha type team, an A type team, 3-10 straight up and against the spread. I think the Clippers here are the way you want to look at. But you made a great point at the beginning of the top of the show here between the Lakers and Clippers. Maybe they're just, saving themselves, load management, as Kawhi would put it, against, for the playoff run.
Yeah, anybody who's a little banged up right now, Ron, for either team, and use the correlation. If it was the playoffs right now, that particular player might be playing in a game, right? But why play him now when you know what your seed's going to be already? You're a high seed. You're a number 1, number 2 seed. You can't catch the Lakers. You know what I'm trying to say, Ron?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like you're just trying to string it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Get to the finish line and let's play for real.
Yeah, let's get over these, and Kawhi is very conscious of staying healthy. Like I know when he was in Toronto, he every time he was doing his interviews to see what team he was going to, first thing I heard he was asked is like, how's your doctor situation? And here's my treatment that I need. Very methodical when it comes to his body treatment.
And that goes hand in hand what you were saying about the Clippers bench being a little bit thin right now. But you don't want to play your starters too many minutes just coming back from a 4-month layoff.
Yeah.
In addition to, you want them fresher to playoffs, right? Yeah. So it goes hand in hand to what you've been mentioning right along about the Lakers and Clippers, how they could be a little bit overvalued right now, and they're not playing up to the standard we saw prior to the break.
Portland taking on the Denver Nuggets. Now, Denver played last night and won against the San Antonio Spurs, 132 to 126. And for Portland, who's been very competitive in this tournament here, or the restart, they're coming off a 110-102 win over Houston. No one saw that coming, but I'm sure Damian Lillard did. 111.21, 110.65, the over-under at 221.86. 44% chance of coming for Denver, 27% for the Portland Trailblazers. Now looking at the Kogos at 32%. Now, Ross, when I look at this situation, and I'm from a handicapping angle like Denver's in right now, they're playing in a back-to-back game situation. The public perception, the mindset of the public is, they're going to be too tired to play. From my experience and looking, it's the same in hockey. I see teams play better in that second game because it's as if they're in better shape physically and mentally. And it's even like better if they've won. It's just every winning streak starts with one. Even though Denver's on a 2-game winning streak, I think Denver just gets stronger from here. But that's just my own personal opinion.
No, and it makes sense. Again, we too many times in the NBA automatically assume a team playing with no rest has a big advantage over a team with rest, and physics will tell you that should be the case, but we're dealing with point spreads here, not straight up wins. So that makes a big difference. Denver has dominated Portland this year, though, Ron. 3-0 straight up in ATS against the Trailblazers and winning by an average of 17 points per game.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, going back to my strength of schedule, the beatables, anytime that Denver's played a C-type team, which Portland is at 31-38, 14-4 straight up, but only 6-2-10 against the number. But looking at Portland, they're 4-12 straight up, but 9-5-2, and they're the ones who are the favorites in this game. Give me Denver all day plus the points.
Yeah, the other thing I would look at, Ron, just as a suggestion for people now that you brought up the no rest factor, yeah. You may want to look at how NBA teams have done this year playing Portland with no rest.
Okay.
Follow me? Not only how Denver has done with no rest this year, but how have teams that were playing with one or more days of rest, how have they done against Portland when playing with, teams that have played Portland with no rest this year?
Okay.
Just playing.
Well, I can tell you, like I'm looking at the rating report, and I can tell you when Denver, not Denver, but a league system now, a league involves any team, which Denver's in right now, any home dog of 3.5 to 6 are 6-9 straight up, 8-5-2 against the spread, 6-8-1 to the under. So nothing earth-shattering, but what sticks out is 8-5-2 against the spread. So and that's on 0 days rest as a home dog. So that's pretty good, and that goes into the theory I was talking about. And that's people think, Denver played last night, they're gonna be too tired. I think opposite. I think they're even better prepared for tonight because they played yesterday. They get a little bit of a break, and they're ready to go again.
Yeah, and they're coming off a 4-month layoff. It's not like their bodies are worn down completely. They may not be in shape, 100% shape, but still, it's not like they've been carrying a 14-game and 29-day kind of schedule, right, Ron?
And you know what? As an athlete, all you want to do is play. And, and if you come off a win, you just want to keep playing and keep winning.
And don't forget, these no-rest games right now, the teams aren't going anywhere. They're all within the same facility here. They could walk to the arena, so it's not like there's the travel and all the additional hassles of playing with no rest, catching a plane from the road, on the road, you know what I mean? So take that all into consideration. We're living in a different climate, and you have to adjust your handicapping as well.
Exactly. The game of the night, Ross, is between the LA Lakers and the Houston Rockets. And, the computer pick here sees a very, very tight game. LA favored by 1.5. Now, this number has been jumping all morning. I saw 1.5. I saw 2.5. Looking at right now, looking at the spread and the total. The total has been late coming out, but it's 227.5 the latest here at Bookmaker, and -1 now for the Lakers. Computer pick all over the hill. Looking at this game here, close to a draw. So this is too close to call here. 114.97, 114.48, over under at 229. So according to that's the number we had this morning when we did the forecast, but it's 227, so it does like it to go over. 61% chance of going over the total. Now, Lakers, the best thing for them right now is going right back to the drawing board, almost like Denver, but in the opposite situation where they lost yesterday, and they want to forget that. Maybe they had the Rockets on their mind yesterday, knowing they're going to face Westbrook and Harden today. And you know what? Looking at this game, Ross, it's going to be a tough one.
I think the Lakers are going to be dangerous today. Beware of the wounded animal kind of thing, Ron. Yeah. They haven't been great since the break, and then they get blown out yesterday against Oklahoma City. And they're playing a Houston Rockets team that they're not the best in the Western Conference. They may be third best, but by the same token, James Harden and company get a lot of attention from the media. So it's a game the Lakers might step up big today. But here's a point, Ron, that we've been talking about, the adjustments the lines makers have made on totals since we returned from the break. These teams have met twice this year, Ron, and the totals in each of those games were 239 and 234.5. And today, the total is 227.5 right now as we speak. And the two games produced 239 points and 232 points scored. So not only were they much higher totals than what are set today, the scores were both higher than today's total. It almost looks like a trap to me. Yeah, and the Lakers are a very underrated defensive team. When their mindset is right, and this is the type of matchup that I would think would qualify in that regard. Look, this is an explosive Houston team offensively. They shoot 1 million threes a game. One of the best scorers in the NBA, if not the best, in James Harden. They may be very attentive to detail on the defensive end today. So just a couple things to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about in the COVID era, right? The home crowd advantage. And maybe, the bookmakers are telling us, home crowd in total is worth, what, 4 or 5 points?
Well, the home on the point spread, I'm not so sure. I guess you would adjust the total based on what the teams, how they do at home. Some teams average 4 or 5 points more a game at home than they do on the road, kind of thing. Yeah. So exactly.
So, yeah, because if the Lakers were at home, like on January 18th, they were a 3-point favorite. And then on February 21st, they were a 3-point favorite again, or underdog. February. Oh, that's 2019. Sorry. So yeah.
I mean, if you look at this right here, and you use the formula you're given, say the home team 2.5 points on a neutral floor, it's at 1.5. So the Lakers at home would probably be a 4 to 4.5 point favorite in this contest. Yeah,
I'm anxious to see the energy level that the Lakers start off with. And who wants it more? Russell Westbrook will tell you who wants it more. Right
this game will tell you, Ron. This game will tell us, I should say, because we've been concerned on what we saw from the Lakers and Clippers so far. This game will tell us if the Lakers are capable of turning that switch on, and they just been at this point just trying to get to the finish line, as I just said, healthy for the playoffs. So we'll see what kind of effort they put up today against a quality team like Houston in a game they know that they're going to be in the public eye.
Yeah, and if you're a Laker fan, there's reason to be concerned because game number 1, when they started, they played the Raptors, and it wasn't a good outcome for them right there too. So, if you're a Laker fan, the good news is you got LeBron, you got AD, but now you need the Danny Greens starts. If Danny Green ever gets hot, shooting threes, watch out. All right, we did it, Ross. There's NBA today for Thursday, August 6th. It's going to be some good games here today. I'm looking forward to that. And again, folks, if you're interested in Ross Benjamin picks, where can they get them, Ross?
rbwins.com, or you can get them at Ron's site, atsstats.com. As a matter of fact, you want to save 20%. It's not going to hurt my feelings if you buy from me at atsstats.com because I haven't lowered the prices Ron has, and good value there for not only my picks, Ron's picks, and the other two guys up at the site right now. So take a look at atsstats.com. Ron, quick reminder to the viewers and the listeners, Give us a like on this video today if you're a viewer, and also subscribe to our YouTube pages, OSGA or the Raymond Report. You'll be notified immediately upon us posting any future sports betting videos, which we'll be doing daily, Monday through Friday. And also, it costs you absolutely nothing, Ron. No strings attached.
Absolutely nothing. Just give us a like. It makes us feel good, and it tells us that you appreciate the show. And then we see that, and then we say, you know what? They like us. They really do. All right. For Ross Benjamin, I'm Ron Raymond. This was the Raymond Report for Thursday, August 6th. As always, shop for value, play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.